Be warned, this video will contain spoilers. There's something especially gut-wrenching about the way 1923 Season 2 leaves things hanging for Liz Dutton and Teonna Rainwater. Even in a feature-length finale, the series made it clear that not every story gets tied up in a neat little bow. For both women, their arcs don't end, they evolve. And while they never actually crossed paths on screen, the emotional symmetry between Liz and Teonna feels intentional. Both were trapped in circumstances they didn't choose, and in very different but equally powerful ways, the finale finally lets them step into something new. Not peace, necessarily, but power. And that's worth exploring in full. Let's start with Liz. After everything she endured, losing her baby, barely surviving a wolf attack, and most crushingly, watching Jack die, you'd expect her to break. But she doesn't. Instead, we see a woman who's transformed by grief, and strangely strengthened by it. She doesn't stay on the Dutton ranch out of duty. She walks away, not to run, but to find herself beyond the shadow of her husband. It's her first real act of autonomy, and maybe the most Dutton-like thing she could have done. Actress Michelle Randolph talked about how meaningful that shift was, especially in the shootout scene where Liz takes charge. She could have stayed hidden. She could have obeyed. But she didn't. That gun in her hands? That wasn't just about saving Zane. That was Liz claiming space in a world that kept trying to erase her. Randolph said something really important. Elizabeth always had that fire. The finale just gave her permission to let it burn. That's such a powerful note to end on, especially since her future is wide open now. She's not just the grieving widow. She's a woman with agency, maybe for the first time since she married into the Duttons. And that's a compelling setup if this story continues. Because if you think Liz is done fighting, you've got another thing coming. Now switch gears to Teonna Rainwater. Her journey's been one of the hardest to watch. Constant brutality, injustice, and survival on sheer instinct. But in the finale, there's this unexpected flicker of something different. Grace. And it comes in the form of Deputy Marshal Fawcett, who doesn't just enforce the law, she listens. She believes Teonna. That moment of belief, that pause in the violence, is so rare in Teonna's story that it stands out as revolutionary. Actress Amina Nieves described their interaction as a sort of mutual understanding that happened right from the start. Even in that intense early scene where they first lock eyes, there's this almost telepathic moment where something unspoken passes between them. It's not just about trust. It's about recognition. Fawcett didn't see a fugitive. She saw a scared young woman in pain. And Teonna saw, for once, a settler who wasn't trying to destroy her. That's why that final choice, the one where Fawcett lets her walk away instead of forcing her to stay, is so heavy. Teonna hesitates. Not because she doubts herself, but because part of her wants to ask for help. Nieves even said that Teonna looked at Fawcett almost like a mother figure, which makes sense considering the only other woman in her life who treated her with any warmth was her grandmother. There's so much tenderness buried in that moment. Complicated, raw, and aching for more. And according to Nieves, she's not done with that thread either. She wants Teonna and Fawcett to meet again. And honestly, so do we. There's so much room to develop that dynamic, whether it turns into a surrogate family bond, or just a lingering alliance that helps shape Teonna's future. Either way, it feels unfinished. Intentionally so. If the creators of 1923 are playing the long game here, leaving Liz and Teonna's stories unresolved is more than just a narrative choice, it's a promise. A promise that we haven't seen the last of their strength, their pain, or their growth. Their arcs aren't over. They're just beginning a new chapter. So what do you think is next for Liz Dutton and Teonna Rainwater? Could Liz come back to the ranch stronger than ever? Will Teonna find a new family, maybe even a deeper connection with Fawcett? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk theories, future arcs, and what moments hit you the hardest in that finale.